Welcome to this video and welcome to my channel, I guess. I didn't really plan to start a YouTube channel, but here we are. Because what I saw over the last couple of weeks in terms of online education made me kind of say a couple of things. But before we dive right into the topic, let me say a couple of things about myself, because I seem to be new here. So my name is Sven, I'm a political philosophy PhD student at King's College London, and I also work as a civic educator. That means that I work together with civil society organizations, many different NGOs, but also larger actors like the Council of Europe and other government agencies. And that means that I have quite a lot of experience with making boring topics such as philosophy or politics more or less interesting. And that brings me to the topic of this video, online education. Because to speak frankly, what I have seen over the last couple of weeks in terms of online educational offers is quite bad. Because if this is the best we can do in 2020, I have to revise a lot of my beliefs about progress. In any case, how can we improve? Well, first, stop doing the obvious mistakes. And that's what I want to do now. So let's dive right into. Mistake number 1, replicating the offline content. This is the most common mistake that we will see. We had to move online, and I guess we had to do it in a rush because nobody could predict this whole pandemic situation. However, what we did then was we replaced lectures by online lectures. We replaced discussion groups by online discussion groups. There was no adjustment to the online environment. And of course that turned out tremendously bad because online lectures are just even more boring than traditional lectures. And online discussion groups are basically people doing parallel work next to their Zoom windows, right? So replicating the offline content is not enough, especially not 3 months into this pandemic. Now, after such a long period of time, I would have expected that curricula actually pop up with different ideas how to make use of the online environment. Because there are so many opportunities. Now you can offer it to a larger target audience, right? You can make it more engaging by letting people learn at their own pace. And you can offer materials for people with different learning strengths and with different learning types. So there is a variety of options there that we could make use, and none of us are doing it because it would mean that we have to go back to the drawing board and revise many of our offline approaches. And we seem to be a little bit too lazy to do that. However, that results in these tremendously bland and boring online educational offers that we see now. Mistake number 2, complaining about the situation. It seems like all Zoom calls start with the usual complaint. Oh, it would be much better if we could have met in person, or oh, this is how we have to do it right now, right? So this of course sets the tone. If you're already complaining from the start that you have to do this now, then your participants or your students, they will also just lower their expectations. They will be like coming into the seminar with a kind of feeling of obligation that they have to do this. They are not excited. And although only a few of our students are usually excited about education, there is this proportion, and you don't want to scare them away by complaining too much and lamenting. Try to embrace it as much as possible. And again, highlight the opportunities that this gives us. And excite people, because you are in a phase of trial and error. Nobody has high expectations because we all know that most of the online educators are new to this field. So make use of this. Try new things. If they fail, you won't get harshly punished by evaluations, right? So instead, try things out. And if they turn out nicely, you will reap a lot of the rewards. So embrace online and try new things. Mistake number 3, not minimizing screen time. And this basically results from mistake number 1, that you try to replicate offline content. However, replicating offline content comes at a cost. It takes much longer. Group work takes much longer, to get settled in with all the technical difficulties takes much longer. So therefore everything takes much longer, and you drag people into 2 or 3 hour Zoom calls. However, if you would have taken a step back, you would have understood that you want to keep the screen time as crisp and short as possible. Maybe 1 or 1.5 hours max. Because all the cues that we normally get in social realities, we don't get when we look at tiny little windows with people pixelated in them, right? We don't get the body language that we would have accessible in person. So instead of dragging people for these long Zoom sessions, try to keep it as crisp as possible and spend the time on what can be conveyed best in such sessions. Mistake number 4 is not trying to build relationships. Of course, we know how to build relationships in person. We know how to network during a coffee break. We know how to get a conversation going when you see and meet the other person. All of this goes out of the window once we are talking online. However, that does not mean that we cannot build relationships online. In fact, you're right now on YouTube, and YouTube is all about building relationships. YouTubers build relationship with their audience, although they never meet them in person, or rarely meet them in person. So take a step back and learn from these YouTubers. How do they build relationships with their audience? And try to mimic the same. Maybe you want to upload regular videos for your courses so that the students and participants can build a relationship with you. Maybe you do AMA sessions where they can learn more about you outside of the hopefully crisp Zoom calls that you have with them. If you don't even try, you can never build relationships, and therefore a crucial part of learning is missed. Mistake number 5, don't get obsessed with the tools. Of course, you want to engage your students and your participants. However, that doesn't mean that you have to throw the newest and fanciest tools and gadgets at them. Instead, try to understand the tools that you really need and then navigate them with confidence. Because online there's nothing worse than if you don't understand one of the tools or if you don't know the nuances of it. Because this is the recipe for disaster. There's nothing worse than when you don't really know how this tool operates and what the nuances of it are. Because your students and participants will certainly discover that once you try it out. Once you want to flex and show off with your new tool that you discovered and it doesn't really work, there's nothing worse in terms of your reputation. So just abstain from that. Use tools that you can use confidently and that you know by heart. So spend a lot of time with the tools of your trade and don't always fall for the recency bias of the newest and fanciest tool. Because online engagement is no rocket science. It just needs your assertiveness and your confidence. And both of these things is what we currently lack in online education. However, if you stop to make these 5 mistakes, you're already ahead of the curve and it will bolster your confidence and will make you a much better, more assertive online educator. I hope this was helpful. I'm trying to put out more content in terms of facilitation, also online facilitation in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned. There's no need yet, I guess, to subscribe, but you can follow me on my social media channels to know more about it. And then see you in the next video.